Welcome everybody, this is Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, a weekly community call with Microsoft speakers. Today is November 11th, 2025. My name is Vesa Juvonen, I'm a Principal Product Manager for Microsoft, and I'm focusing on community side of open source communities, all of that stuff across the Microsoft 365 Power Platform, among other things as well. So I'll be a host today. The real stars of today will be actually Paolo and Steve. Before we go to the actual demos of today and today's call, we're going to do a quick recap on all of the different assets which are available for you to get started on M365 for Power Platform. That includes links and assets and videos and samples and all of that stuff, which some of you might have actually seen already a few times, but there's always new people within a call. So we want to make sure that everybody has a clean starting point if they come as a new member. Now, we do also cover the latest news across the Microsoft blogs. I was just collecting them earlier before joining on this call. Quite a list of different news, but not that many as previous week when we had the Power Platform conference news, which came up to be a massive amount of news. You can only imagine how much news we will have next week when we have Microsoft Ignite in San Francisco. After the news section, we're going to go to the group picture. So anybody who's willing and enabling their camera, we will take it to get a remote picture, and we're going to share that GIF animation within social media. And then we go to the stars of today. So Paolo is going to start and talking about creating autonomous agents in Copilot Studio. So what does the autonomous agent actually mean, and how do we actually create them in Copilot Studio side? Really great topic. We've been covering this a few times with different perspective in the past as well, but these things actually evolve also so fast, so it's really good to have recaps on how to get started on those things. And then Steve is going to talk about unlocking SharePoint Embedded integrations with Power Platform connectors, and really interesting setup as well. So basically, SharePoint Embedded is a great platform for storing the documents in a compliant way for the applications, and you can actually get access to those documents using Power Platform connectors. And Steve is going to talk about all of that stuff within his demo section. Looking forward on that as well. Now, quick recap on all of the assets which we have available. A lot of URLs. I'm not going to spend too much time in here. But YouTube channel, we put all of the recordings and demos on that side, on the YouTube, AKMS Community YouTube, really the location which you want to subscribe. A lot of demos from Microsoft, a lot of demos from community as well, because we publish the community call demos there as well as an individual demos. Thank you for everybody who's been doing those. We do have a linking page, crew for discussions and updates. We do have a lot of open source assets, but as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant GitHub repo for you with the right sample, we actually have this sample galleries, which is aggregating the information to a one centralized location. And a lot of URLs, if you go to AKMS Community Home or Community MS, that is the location where you find more details and links and all of that. What are all of the options for you to get involved within the community. Now, we do have a lot of community calls. You are in one of them. This is the 8 a.m. Tuesday community call, Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call, focusing on a product updates with Microsoft speakers, like today with Paolo and Steve. So we have people like cloud advocates and engineers and product managers and so on joining on this calls and sharing the latest and greatest within their product areas. On top of that, we have our other weekly call series, which is Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call. And here, the presenters are community speakers like you. Every single one of you joining on this call is welcome to actually sign up for a demo and telling your story, for example, getting started in Power Apps. Guess what? Not that many people know. Not everybody knows how to get started on Power Apps, and it might be a good story to tell. And it doesn't have to be rocket science to sign up for that demo setup, and it can be something what somebody has already shown. So because every single one of us has a different way of explaining, and that will help other people within the community to learn as well. So every single Tuesday, Microsoft 365 Power Platform community call with Microsoft presenters, every single Thursday with community presenters, and Tuesday call 8 a.m., Thursday call 7 a.m. Why is that? Well, historical reasons. Let's not actually have a discussion on that one. We don't want to just jump those dates and schedules that much because we've been doing that already for more than 10 years already pretty soon from some of these calls. On top of that, we do have a Power Platform monthly community calls with community speakers, and then Office add-ins monthly community calls with Microsoft speakers. All of the download of the recurrent invites taken with community calls, and then the meetup service is a great location to get to check advance what is the agenda always for the following week. So roughly on Thursday, we always publish the following week's agenda in our blog and also in the Meetup service. And if you use the Meetup service, you will actually get even an email in your inbox saying, hey, this is next Tuesday's community call agenda. And you can then decide if you want to go to the live call or you want to check the recording. Now, as mentioned, for a lot of those calls, we do welcome community presenters, and it doesn't have to be rocket science. It can be something what has been shown in the past as well, because again, things evolve, and we want to have a fresh content and fresh perspectives from all of you within here. Easiest way to sign up is just to go AKMS community request demo, and we will get you scheduled on the next suitable slot within our time frame. So super easy. We'll contact you, and based on your submission, we'll find you the right location to present. And of course, based on your availability, we'll get you scheduled. Now, we do have also a lot of samples available from Microsoft and community in a one centralized location. So AKMS community samples, we do have more than 2,580 samples. So really cool setup of samples cross from Copilot prompts to SharePoint framework for Power Apps and AI builder stuff in a one centralized location. It's really like trying to make it easy for people to find all of the goodness what people are building all around the world. For a lot of those samples, we do welcome you to contribute as well. But you might be wondering, how would I contribute? Or wait a minute, I want to actually start building cool-looking applications, all of that stuff. That's why we have Sharing is Caring initiative, which is a specific initiative which we don't record these sessions. So you can actually join on these sessions and have a discussion with the presenters. But they're really targeted to help you to evolve within your career. Maybe you want to contribute, maybe you want to start building certain specific capabilities, and we have all of these sessions available for you to take advantage. Now, the next session will be a samples contributor session, and that should be coming pretty soon. And the people who are running this show, for example, David and a few others, have been pretty busy on all of the conference season, which is now starting to wrap up, but we'll get more sessions in the pipeline for sure. AKMS Sharing is Caring is the URL for everybody who contributes will get a badge, and you are getting acknowledged as a contributor from the community. Depending on what kind of things you contribute, you will get a different kind of badge. It could be from seasonal kidding to 2100 gigabit contributor, or the latest one which are now coming again on this season is the This is my community, I must contribute, and then contributing is my favorite badges. So these are really fun badges. They are official Credly badges, so they are officially credited by the Credly, which is also acknowledging our community as best in class for building all of this engagement with the badges as well. So if you have contributed and you want to get a badge, or if you want to get involved, you always need to sign up AKMS community recognition. So your contribution will then give you the badge, whatever you are contributing on. Really cool capabilities. Now, quick recap on the event side of the house. So TechCon 365 Dallas was just last week happening. Awesome event in Dallas. And then the next TechCon 365, which we know of, is happening in Atlanta in March 16th to 2026. More to come at TechCon365.com pretty soon. Now, next week, we do have Ignite coming up. Ignite is happening physically in San Francisco, Moscone Center from November 18th to 21st, 2025. But this is also an online event. So you can access 99% of all of the different things which are getting presented, also by going to ignite.microsoft.com and then watching things live or as a pre-recorded on-demand video directly from that website. So great opportunity of staying up to date on what are the latest announcements from Microsoft side across all of the AI and Power Platform and Microsoft 365. So many cool stuff happening. A lot of awesome stuff next week coming up. Now, following up within a few weeks, right, 2 weeks after the Ignite, the week after Thanksgiving, if you are on that side of the pond, we do have the European SharePoint Conference coming up at the 1st to 4th of December 2025. A lot of people from Microsoft are actually flying over, also from Redmond. I'm flying over not from Redmond side, but from my location, which is Helsinki. And there's going to be a lot of other people on that conference as well. Great conference, really well organized. And we are in Dublin. We've been there in the past, so we know the venue, which works really well. Now, on spring 2026, we do have the European Collaboration Summit coming up from 5th to 7th of May, Cologne, Germany. You can actually get to Cologne super easily, either land on Cologne Airport, or you can also go there super easily from Düsseldorf. It's only 15 to 20 minutes from the Düsseldorf Airport. But that is a great conference, more than 3,000 attendees coming up again on 2026 on that one. ECS Events is the URL to follow up. On top of that, a lot of events happening still by end of the year, and you can catch all of those at communitydays.org. So there are smaller events. Some of them might be online events, but many of them are in-person events happening all around the world, where you can catch up with the latest together with other people within the community. So don't miss out this opportunity for sure. Check out the latest at communitydays.org. Now, this week on the news, not that many news, but a good set of announcements and a few interesting ones, and definitely from Microsoft side, to stay up to date on the latest on the AI, Copilot, and M360 side of the house. I put a links in the chat. If you're watching the recording, you'll find the links for all of these announcements also in the description of the video, so you can easily stay up to date on the latest announcements from Microsoft side. Now, we also wanted to remind everybody on our Copilot prompt library. AKMS PMP prompt library is a great location to contribute, super easy location to contribute as well. And we always acknowledge who is the weekly contributor and with the prompt of the week. And this week, we're doing something a bit different. It's a great reminder from Kunal. Congratulations on providing the prompt of the week, that actually Copilot can provide you other stuff as well. It's not just necessarily the work related on your code or documents and everything else. It is actually super smart AI, which can help you on the day-to-day other stuff as well. Like in this case, Kunal is submitted a prompt related on a dental care advisory. So we could actually build a dental care advisory agent, which is there to help you to actually stay up to date on the health within your teeth as well. Anyway, great example, and the Copilot is there to help on the day-to-day work, but also it can help outside of the work as well. So please check out all of the contributions of what we are getting within this side as well. Now, then, before we go to the actual stars of the day, let's do a quick group photo. So those who are willing, you are able to enable the camera. I will flip this one in here. Let's adjust a bit on the view. I've been talking too fast, so fast that we have plenty of time, so this is really good. So let me flip in here. Let's see if we can actually get, there we go, together mode is starting, so that's really good. Pixel perfect, yeah, that's really good. Good done. So let me actually flip side scenes. I want to actually flip this one. One second. Let's do something else that is so boring, the baseline. Let's go to the auditorium. So this is really good. And we are really pixel perfect today. So let's wait for a while. I can see a lot of familiar faces there. Excellent. We still have a few more seats in the room. We're not yet recording. Where is my recorder? It's over there. So where is my mouse? I have too many screens now. I can't find my mouse. Where's my mouse? There's my mouse. Okay. So I will try to find my mouse and put it in here. Okay, let's do this. 3, 2, 1. So let's do some hand waving, everybody. We'll grab a GIF animation out of that. Smiling. It's so awesome to see you there. Excellent. Good work done on Paolo on dancing on your screen as well. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, everybody else, and Todd and everybody else who I know on the screen. Thank you. A lot of familiar faces. Good to see you here. And if you can make to next week in Ignite, there's a lot of us in Ignite, definitely. And then the week 2 weeks after in ESBC Dublin. Looking forward and seeing a lot of the community members there. Now, then let me flip back on the calendar mode and let me go in here. And then we're going to actually go to the actual stars of the day. So Paolo's going to start talking about autonomous agents in Copilot Studio. And then we're going to transition to Steve to talk about SharePoint Embedded with Power Platform connectors. But Paolo, I know that you should be ready to go.
Yes, I am.
Excellent. Audio is good. Okay. I can see the screen. Take it away.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you, Vesa. So yeah, today we're going to talk about how we can create autonomous agents in Copilot Studio. And the demo of today is taken from the Copilot Dev Camp. I will tell you more about Copilot Dev Camp later, but now I want to focus on the main topic of this demo. So let's understand what an autonomous agent is and why we should need to know how to create such kind of agents. Well, an autonomous agent is an agent that can be invoked by a trigger, and the trigger can be just a recurrent trigger, so you can set a schedule, or can be a trigger based, for example, or an item created in SharePoint Online, or on a file created in SharePoint Online or OneDrive for Business, or many more options like a task completed in Planner, or a new response submitted in a Microsoft Forms, and so on and so forth. So plenty of options to trigger an agent and let the intelligence behind the scene of an agent process the content of the event that triggered the agent itself. You can even have multiple triggers on the same agent if you want to have a really smart agent reacting to multiple different event triggers. So when you work with autonomous agents, what happens is that you first of all need to have the generative orchestrator enabled. Nowadays, it is enabled by default, but just in case, always double check that it is enabled in your agent. And when you have the trigger waking up your agent, you can choose if you want to send a specific and customized setup for the payload from the trigger to the agent, or if you can simply rely on the out-of-the-box predefined payload that every different kind of trigger will provide to your agent. Behind the scenes of your autonomous agents, you have a Power Automate flow. So long story short, there is a triggered Power Automate, which will then trigger the agent in Copilot Studio and will make the magic happen. Important things to know and some common use cases before moving to the actual demo. Some use cases could be, for example, that you want to create a support request agent, and whenever there is a new support request email sent to a specific email address, you want to trigger an agent and make the agent try to give a proper answer to the user without waiting for a real human being, or you can escalate to operator in case the agent is not able to provide a proper answer to the user. Because remember, the artificial intelligence is here to help, but still we need human beings. Or could be a quote request handling agent, just to give you yet another idea. So you get an email for a quote, and you can use, for example, an MCP, so Model Context Protocol server, that you can use to read a list of products in a product catalog, and you can create on the fly an email with a quote based on the information you have in the external system, and so on and so forth. You can do automated document processing. So whenever there is a new document in SharePoint Online, you do something, which is precisely the demo we are going to see today, or many more options. But regardless what you do when you create an autonomous agent, it is important to know that currently, the autonomous agents work with the agent's author's credentials when it comes to accessing data and information that trigger the agent itself. So be careful when working with the sensitive data, because the agent triggered by the external event will have access to the resources and to the information and data that the author of the agent can access. Moreover, in case of any missing information or data while processing autonomously the request triggered by the event trigger, you need to know that the autonomous agent cannot complete the task itself. So if there is a scenario where you trigger the agent and then you want to do something and you need some input from the user, well, you will need to design your agent accordingly, because the autonomous agent cannot give an answer on behalf of a specific user. And so you need to properly and carefully design your autonomous agents. And in order to have your agents capable of processing autonomously any event that you configure, you will need to publish the agent so that it will start processing any event trigger. Last but not least, there is one setting that you need to configure for your environment, which is the solution-aware Cloudflow sharing, which must be turned on in order to have the capability to use autonomous agents. And in the useful links that I already shared in the chat at the beginning of this demo, and that you will find also, I guess, in the description of the video when you will see the recorded video, you can find additional information and overview content about the event triggers for Copilot Studio autonomous agents. But now let's move to the actual demo. Let me show you how you can create an autonomous agent and how an autonomous agent works. So let me switch to the demo environment. And here, first of all, you see the lab I'm referring to while delivering this demo today. And this is the lab that we have in the Copilot Developer Camp, which is a set of labs and training materials and videos that we make available for the community, so that if you want to dig into how to create agents for Microsoft 365 Copilot, whether you are a maker or a developer, you can find the useful information there, and you can learn how to do stuff. And our main point of view in the Copilot Developer Camp, as you can argue from the name, is the point of view of the developer. And that's why, for example, even in this lab, we are talking about autonomous agents. But in this sample agent, we are also going to rely on an MCP server, and we also provide you the source code in C# for the MCP server, so that you can learn how to create an autonomous agent, how to consume an MCP server, but also how to create your own MCP server if you like, and if you are a developer. So in this lab, you can see you can create an agent which is an autonomous HR docs processor. So let me briefly show you this agent in action, and then we will build it together. So this agent is an agent that has been designed to process PDF resume documents uploaded in a target SharePoint Online document library. So first of all, you will have to create a document library in SharePoint Online, which will be the target for uploading your documents. And then you can configure your agent to process those documents. In the instructions of the agent, I decided to say that, okay, you are an autonomous HR assistant that specializes in processing candidate data from PDF documents. When a new PDF file is uploaded to SharePoint Online document library, you automatically extract information from the PDF content, validate the structure, create a new candidate, you see, using an add candidate tool of the HR MCP server. What is that? Well, in this agent, I configured under tools an MCP server, which we created, that you can find with the whole source code. And in this MCP server, if I will dig into it, you can see that we have a set of tools, including one called add_candidate. So when I say in the instructions, create a new candidate using the add candidate tool of the HR MCP server, I'm instructing the agent to autonomously invoke that specific tool of my MCP server. Then I say provide confirmation of successful processing. And since it is an autonomous agent and I'm not interactively using it when it is processing the uploaded documents, I need to know that something happened. So I say, okay, send me an email with confirmation that the new candidate record was created and with a recap of candidates data. And again, this instruction for the agent becomes the invocation of the tool email management MCP server, in which we have a tool to send an email on behalf of the connected user, which is my user, the user who is designing this Copilot Studio agent right now. And as you can see, we have the send email tool available in this MCP server. So we have an autonomous agent, and we have a couple of MCP servers configured. One is out of the box. The other one is a custom one that we can create using .NET. Then I also say in the instruction that it is important to not wait for any user input, because as I told you, the agent cannot do that. And do not invent anything, and you must only process real and existing data. So this is the imprinting, the set of instructions that I give to my agent. If we want to see the agent in action before digging into the trigger, Let's do that. Let me first of all double check that my HR MCP server is up and running, and looks like it is, as well as the dev tunnel that I have locally so that I can run it on my local machine. So I can upload a resume document, for example, Anthony Ivanov. And by uploading this PDF document, in a matter of a few seconds, within up to 1 minute, the Power Automate flow backing my autonomous agent will be triggered. So I can show you here that we have a Power Automate flow, and I can refresh here the list, the history of executions, and see if we are processing our request. Not yet. We need to wait a few more seconds. Let's see. And as soon as the flow will process the trigger and will wake up my agent, I will get the candidate added to the list of my candidates in the hypothetical list of candidates in my HR. And now we see we have the processing which succeeded. And now I can go to my agent, to the user experience of my agent while waiting for the email. And you see I've just got an email. And I can say list all of the candidates. By doing that, I will be able to see that in the list of candidates, I have one candidate which is matching the item that I uploaded in SharePoint Online. And in fact, here we can see we have a list of fake candidates, including Anthony Ivanov, with this email, with this current role, skills, and language. And if we look into the PDF file that I uploaded, we can clearly see that that's the email address of the candidate, this is the role and stuff like that. So the AI agent was able to extract the information from the PDF and to feed the database of candidates of my hypothetical HR system. And I also got an email with the confirmation that the new candidate, Anthony Ivanov, with this email, with this role, and so on and so forth, was created inside my HR system. And of course, we can also see that we have got a call invocation of the MCP tool to insert the new item. So how can you create such an agent on your side? Well, whenever you want to create an agent which is an autonomous one, you simply need to go to the agent itself and enable the generative AI orchestration, as I was telling you. Then you can choose whatever model you like. Nowadays in Copilot Studio, you can choose if you want to use GPT-4.1, GPT-5 in different flavors, and there are also other options available depending on your tenant configuration. Here I decided to use GPT-5 chat. And then in the triggers and channels, you can add a new trigger. And once you do that, you simply need to select the kind of trigger you want to use. And as you can see here, you can see the list of available to retrieve all of the properties of any file which will be created in SharePoint Online. And whenever there will be a new file created in a specific folder that I can configure, I will get my agent trigger. So let's do that just to show you how I configure the trigger that I already have in this agent. By doing so, I need to connect to the target SharePoint Online environment. And it takes a while, and now I need to confirm that I want to effectively connect to the SharePoint with specific permissions that will be needed to get access to the file created. I can give whatever name I like to my trigger. And then here it comes the page through which I can configure the actual document library that I want to use to trigger the agent whenever there is a new document. So here I can select a site and I can browse for the site that I was using before. Then once I've selected the site, I can choose what is the library. For example, for me, it's candidates data. I can select a specific folder, or I can just target any folder in the library. I can select a specific view if I want to just retrieve a predefined set of fields for the agent. And then I can say that whenever there is a new document in the target library, I want to provide additional, if I want, I can provide additional instructions to the agent based on the actual content of the trigger. And this is the payload I was talking about before. It can be the default one like it is right now. So just use the content from the body of the message coming in from SharePoint. Or I can even extend the instructions. For example, I can say, and read content of the PDF file, which is precisely what I did in my agent, so that I'm instructing the Copilot Studio agent to not only get the metadata of the document, but also to read the actual content of the PDF file, so that then the agent can process that content and extract the information I'm looking for. Once you're done, you create the trigger, and you will be able to have your trigger listed here in triggers and channels. Once you are ready, the very first thing you should do is to test your trigger. So you go here to this nice icon, you select test trigger, and you will be able to see the most recently processed or received document in the target document library. Now I just processed the document of Anthony Ivanov. So let me upload, actually, no, if I will upload another document, still it will trigger the agent. So let's just use the last one and start testing on this one. Of course, this item has been already inserted in the database. So we will see that this document was already processed, but doesn't really matter. Now I was able to select the document for testing purposes. We can see that the agent initialized both the MCP server for the mail and the MCP server for HR, and defined to use the add candidate tool to insert the new candidate. As you can see, here we invoked the insertion request, providing the data that was extracted automatically by the agent by GPT-5 chat from the PDF document. And then I send the email with the confirmation and with all of the details about the candidate. As we can see, we also see that the item was not really added because it was already there, but that's just because I executed one more time the same trigger as before with the same document, and as such, clearly the candidate is already in the HR database, but doesn't really matter. This was just to show you what you can do. And one more thing, when you are in the agent that you created as an autonomous agent, you can always go back to the trigger, and by selecting the three dots, you can edit the Power Automate flow, as I was showing you before, and you will be brought to the actual Power Automate flow, and we can edit it and see what's inside. We can see that it's a very, very simple one, where we simply have the trigger for the Power Automate flow, and then we have an action which will do the actual wake up, the actual triggering of the agent in Copilot Studio. And here we can specify the setup of the payload as we did before. Okay, so really simple and straightforward, also from an architectural perspective. So you can do monitoring of the Power Automate flow from the regular interface of Power Automate, as well as, if you like, you can also have a look at the activity tab of the agent and see what's going on there in the agent itself, up to you. So once you are done, you go to channels, you select a channel, you publish the agent with a specific channel if you want to have also an interactive experience like the one I showed you to list the candidates or to do stuff with the candidates. And once your agent is published and available, it will start processing any new event targeting the trigger that you configured. One important thing I already told you at the beginning, but since the autonomous agents access content under the identity of the user who designed, who created the autonomous agents. So for example, I access the document library of the resumes with the identity of my own user that I used to design this agent. We have a set of alerts or warnings from Copilot Studio whenever we publish the agent, so that we are aware of this specific situation and we know what to do, and we get some warnings accordingly to that in the UI of Copilot Studio. So don't get scared. This is just to let you know that there are some specific settings in place, and you need to be aware of that so that you can design your agent carefully, as I told you before. So that said, let me switch briefly back to the slide deck so that we can close up. And as I was telling you, this demo is part of the Copilot Developer Camp, which is a set of workshops and training materials. We deliver in-person training events around the globe with the Copilot Camp, and we also make the training content available online. It targets makers and developers, mainly with the developer point of view, so that you can focus more on the developer side of the story. But you can choose your pathway. You can decide to build an agent with Copilot Studio, or to create declarative agents, or to create custom engine agents, depending on the target and on the functionalities that you want to leverage. And since there are plenty of options available, we try to help you find the right way of achieving your goal. And that's why we also provide this map that you can use to navigate across all of the options, finding what is the best one that fits your needs. So that said, a couple of links: the developer camp, the lab we have just seen, and the overview page of the Copilot Studio event triggers if you want to dig more into the topic that I just shared with you. And that said, I think that's all for me. Thank you, and back to you, Vesa.
So thank you, Paolo, on that one. Really cool. Excellent work on storytelling and explaining how it actually works, and a great demo as well. Now, let's then transition to Steve. And Steve is going to talk about SharePoint Embedded Integration Power Platform Connectors. This actually can relate on the previous demo as well, right, Steve? Because you can use these connectors even with autonomous agents if you want. But I'll let you explain on what these are and all of that. I'm not going to put you on a spot, Steve, right? So
no, yeah, absolutely. You're going to tee me up just fine there, Vesa, because one of the things that we're going to walk through is how do we use those connectors in Copilot Studio, in addition to the Power App that I have working as well. So for those of you that I haven't met before, Steve Pucelik, product manager on the SharePoint Embedded team, and thrilled to walk through some of the Power Platform connectors that we are introducing here shortly. For those of you that are fairly new to SharePoint Embedded, a couple reminders on what it is, how to use it, and where it fits into the Power Platform. It is an API-only version of SharePoint, so think of your application, your Power App, your Power Pages, custom app that needs to store documents somewhere. SharePoint Embedded is that place to store scalable documents and get all of the goodness that you would want in your M365 environment. The way that it does that is there is that partition that's in your M365 tenant. So once you set up SharePoint Embedded in your tenant, you now have the ability to use the Graph API to get into those SharePoint Embedded containers. Think of a container as a site collection with one document library, because that's exactly what it is. Scales to what you think it does from millions of documents, have millions of containers that can store that per your application. So scalability, like I tell people, we have figured that out a long time ago. Core features that you want to use within your application, these are plenty and robust. So the things that we see the most are the collaboration. I want to edit an Excel document in Excel in the browser or the desktop. Great. Don't make me download it. Don't make me re-upload it in my application. This is a great thing, right? Other things that we normally see: compliance, full integration with that M365 environment that you have, E3, E5, whatever you want to focus on there. You build it. We provide the backend to support that. So think of the UX. We're going to look at a Power App here in just a second. We're going to look at Copilot agents, Copilot Pages agents, so that you can build that UX however you want to. You control that user experience. You control how the files are handled and so forth. We take care of everything else. You're going to authenticate through Entra. You're going to use eDiscovery. You're going to document or collaborate on documents. You're going to do all of that natively within a lot of the applications that you're building, but you don't have to build it. That's the beauty of it. So where does Power Platform fit into this? Power Platform, obviously built on the Connect framework. In the past, you have, since SharePoint Embedded is graph driven, you have had the ability to use the HTTP endpoint to make all those graph calls. Not anymore. that's where we're starting to use first-party connectors. So we're introducing some first-party connectors that go directly to SharePoint Embedded. You don't have to pay for the premium connector in the HTTP connector. All of the charges and so forth, they're just normal consumption charges that you have within SharePoint Embedded, but use that wherever you want to. Like Vesa said, in Copilot Studio, if you're creating agents and you want to have a tool that interacts with your agent, use the connector. You're using Power Automate to trigger based on a file that's been added to a SharePoint Embedded container. There's a trigger for that. Building a Power App, connecting it to the application, displaying the files that you need to, using Power Pages externally, all of that can now be used within those first-party connectors that we are coming out with. There are 47 activities within those connectors. So think of all the CRUD operations that you normally do: create, read, update, delete, all is good. You can incorporate that into the pay-as-you-go subscription that you already have in your environment, and everything works just fine. Okay, so let's take a look and see what this guy looks like. So now what we're going to do is I'm going to go over to a Power App that I have. And for those of you that know me, I am a go live or go home kind of person. And yes, you can see the dancing dots on the top of my screen, and they keep dancing and dancing. But what we're going to do is we're going to work through what it is that's going on underneath that particular application. So within my Power App, I have a normal data grid that I want to display information on, right? So if I go to that data grid, what I'm going to do is I'm going to focus on that container itself. And where's she at here? Yeah, the container. And you'll notice that I have a collection of containers. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call that endpoint, and I'm going to get all of the container information that I want from my application. Okay, so if I go to the welcome screen, let's see here. As soon as I fire the application up, that's where I have the ability to go and make that initial call. So what I'm doing is within my Power App, I'm going and I am doing nothing more than filling a collection with the results of the Power Automate flow called Get Containers. And naturally, what you would think that would do is it would make that endpoint connection. So if I go to Power Automate and I look at what is going on in the background, pretty simple stuff. Within my Power App, I'm passing in or I'm activating that activity, but then I'm calling this new Power or SharePoint Embedded connector called List Containers. And if we look at the parameters that go in there, it's simply telling me for my application what is the container type ID. So for those of you that are, veterans of SharePoint Embedded, when you create a SharePoint Embedded environment, you're going to have this concept called container type. And that is where we're going to store all of our containers. So think of that as a collection of containers, if you will. And that's exactly what I want to get. I want to get back all of the containers that I have in my application so I can show that to the users, security trimmed, of course, and they can start to navigate through the files that are in that container. But if I wanted to add a new connector, so you'll notice that now we have the ability to look at SharePoint Embedded. And once these are released, again, you have all of the CRUD operations that you would expect. If you wanted to create a file, create a folder, delete a file, get the versions, add permissions, on and on, you certainly have the ability to do that through the connectors that we are making available. Okay, so add those into your flow within Power Automate, do with it what you need to do, all is good there. Okay, so that's going to return on a JSON response. All we're doing is simply parsing that JSON response, putting it into our container, and then binding that container to objects in Power Apps. Nothing out of the ordinary here, and something that we normally see from a application perspective. Okay. So now that we have all the containers, we need to get files. So this is where we have the ability to go and select that container. If that were returning my containers, that would populate with all my containers. But what we're going to do is now that we're navigating into files, I want to be able to list the files that are in that container. So one of the parameters that it's going to require for me to get all of the files that are in that container, what container am I in? So each container naturally has a container ID. That is what the Power Automate endpoint is looking for. Give me the container ID. If you want to return specific fields that are in there, great. If you want to have all the fields come back so that you can use that within your application, all as well. But this is pretty simple. Tricky part here is where exactly am I in my tree or my folder structure? Am I at the root, which I am here? First time in, get me all the folders and files at the root level. If I'm going and traversing the tree, I'm walking up and down the tree, now I need to know exactly where I'm at. Send in the folder ID. Now I can get the files from that folder. So you can imagine that you've got a container that's got 1 million documents in it. Getting 1 million documents back out is probably going to be a performance hit. So you're going to walk up and down that tree and select the folders, the contents of the folder, display the files, and so forth as you're doing that. Nothing different here. Calling that list, again, returning back that JSON response, populating a collection, and then using that within your application. Okay. Last thing I want to show you before we jump over to Copilot Studio is not only do we have the ability to monitor those or react to those events that are happening in your application, we can now monitor file changes. Okay, so now somebody drops a document into a container, you want to be able to do something with that. Set up the trigger and determine what container you want to monitor. Yes, that's really a container ID. Lovely. And now when that event happens, it will initialize that variable. You'll get back content from that particular event. So you'll get items like let's just go in and look at that. Oops. Right. So you'll be able to get back what's the URL, what's the ID of the file that made that event, what's the name of the file, the size, the web URL. So once you have the ID of the file that has been added or modified within that container, now you're home free. Go and do file activity, create a workflow. Obviously, you're going to maybe create an approval workflow, or you're going to do some disposition with the file, whatever you need to within Power Automate. Absolutely do that. But now we have the ability to monitor those files as they're being uploaded, changed, and so forth. Okay. All right. From a Power Apps and Power Automate perspective, all is good there. So let's go over to Copilot Studio. So now we're going to extend that connector framework a little bit further. And within my Copilot Studio environment, I have an agent. And if I go into that particular agent, I have a certain amount of topics that I've created. One of the topics that I've modified is going in. I'm going to simply ask the user for a couple prompts if I wanted to upload an invoice, so forth. But then I've also added a new topic called the upload file to SharePoint Embedded. And what this will do is first we need to ask the agent to upload the file. So we're going to prompt the user to upload the file. A couple of things that are of note here, and ask me how I know this. Go in and check that include file metadata. That is going to be your friend here in just a second. And then you'll be able to get not only file content, but the name, the content type. This is going to be like super incredibly useful here in just a second. Okay. So once we have that question prompted to the user, I'm simply throwing out a message that says, hey, here's the file name. Now the action. So what I'm doing with the action is I'm actually going to take that file, pass it into my tool that I created. We'll get to that here in a second. But this is the content bytes or the JSON that we're going to use to pass that file into my tool. So now this is going to be important because we want the content bytes and we want the name based on what the user had uploaded for us. But if we go and we view the details of that upload file, I just happen to have it right here. When the agent calls the flow, we have a parameter that takes the file that they just dropped into the chat window, and we're going to convert that to a base 64 binary. But then we're going to call that SharePoint embedded action. Once we call that SharePoint embedded action, this is where we're going to create the file. Nothing different than when we created a file in Power Automate. Obviously, this is, Power Automate. Pass in the container ID. You'll notice I've hard-coded this in here, but there may be an environment variable or something that you want to include in there. But you can also add in the file content based on the parameter that came from the agent. So when the agent is called, that's when you're going to get the content bytes and the name. Those are the two parameters SharePoint Embedded looks for so that it can add the file to the container, and all is well there. Okay? So once we have that, we're going to publish the agent back out. We're going to save that topic, and then I'm just simply displaying a message to the user that says everything is good to go there. Okay? So when I start to fire that agent and test it, I'm going to have a prompt, and you'll see what would you like to do? I have a couple prompts that are automatically set for the user. Simply uploading the file. I'm going to grab myself a file, and let's grab that guy, and we're going to open that, and up it goes. So now that is going to display the name of the file, and it's being uploaded to SharePoint Embedded. So now that tool has activated. The agent is now uploading the file into the container, and that is going to be added to my SharePoint Embedded environment. So as you can see, we have a lot of different flexibility with the agents themselves. Pop that over here, go back in the screen. So a couple of things that we saw when we went through the demo. From a SharePoint Embedded perspective, we are authenticating against Entra. So know that Entra and all of the configuration that you have, conditional access, PIM, multi-factor authentication, all of that is certainly in play. The Power Automate connectors, so naturally the connectors that we're using within not only Copilot Studio, but within a Power App are full, easy to use. Again, not a premium connector. They are native first-party connectors that are in the environment and so forth. Use them within the objects that you normally used to. If you're familiar with how to parse a JSON file and put it into a collection, nothing changes. Okay, so all of that is still going to be business as usual as you're working through your Power App application, because that is the response that SharePoint Embedded is going to give you. Always going to be that JSON response. And we take a look at some of the document management capabilities and the ability for collaboration on those documents that are in SharePoint Embedded. Okay. All right. So a couple of things to wrap up here is if you are going to Ignite, make sure to stop by and see Reed and Cindy. They will be there and working through some of the SharePoint Embedded demos and answering all your questions. If you are going to ESPC, Shreyas and I will be there. So we look forward to seeing you. Would love to hear more about some of the use cases that you're working with, how you're using SharePoint Embedded, and some of the differences that you see between that and other applications that you're using. So with that, Vesa, I will go ahead and pause there for any thoughts or questions. But the connectors are going GA. We're going to make an announcement here, hopefully in the Ignite timeframe, but we're just putting a couple finishing touches on it, so we'll have an announcement here shortly.
Excellent. Thank you, Steve, on that one. Really, really cool stuff, and it really powerful stuff for making the Copilot to be aware on the SharePoint Embedded as well. Great work by the whole team on that one. And again, just recapping, if you're in Ignite, you don't want to miss the session with Reed and Cindy is having interior session. So that's on next week, and then in 2 weeks we'll be all in ESPC, hopefully within Dublin. And there's going to be a bit longer session with Steve as well. Yeah. But awesome work there. Let me wrap up the call, and if there's any questions, let's follow up on those in the chat as well. But good excitement on the presentation. Thank you, Steve, on that.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you, Paolo. Thank you, Steve. Really, really cool stuff. Both topics actually touched quite significant in Copilot Studio, which is understandable. There's a lot of focus on Microsoft 365 Copilot. It's not everything what we do for sure, but yes, Copilot is a big part of on the capabilities which are available, as you can clearly see from this call as well. Now, let me actually quickly start wrapping up on the call today. We'll be a few minutes maybe early, which is quite an exception. So next week on 18th of November, we have Damien Burt joining us on talking about Introduction Power Platform Code Interpreter in Prompts. Really cool capability for sure on the Power Platform side. And then Derek Cash-Pedersen is back to talk about a bit more advanced and a deep dive on the learning pathways. So how has that solution been built for Microsoft 365? And that takes a bit of a different approach than for SharePoint Embedded, which we saw today, because that is a learning pathways as an SPFX SharePoint framework powered solution, which means that it's actually running inside of the customer tenant. You install that to the tenant and it's running in the tenant. So it's a bit of a different approach for sure. But Derek is going to explain how learning pathways has been built and how you can build something similar if you're looking into doing that within your environments or within your offerings. Now, in the meanwhile, we do have a community call happening this week on Thursday, obviously. That's with community demos, 3 demos coming up on there. You can check out the meetup, what is the latest on and plan on that one. Or you can also join on engaging other people in a community in the Discord if you are a Discord person. Some people are not. But AKM's community Discord, you can access this one. I haven't actually checked the numbers if we have already crossed 3,000. We are super close on that. We're always also looking for feedback around these calls. This explicitly help us on keeping this call alive also in the future. So if you have constructive and positive feedback, please fill in the forum AKM's community calls feedback on those suggestions. But that's it for today. So the recording will be available within 24 hours at Microsoft Community Learning YouTube channel. You want to subscribe there today. We do have a lot of content getting published there every single day, which should be beneficial for you as well. And we also update or share updates in LinkedIn and Blue Sky and Twitter or X whenever there's updates available. And next call in 18th of November, as mentioned, and you can check all of the community calls at AKM's community calls URL. But that's it for now. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you for interactive discussion again on the chat. Super cool to see that. There's an active engagement between every single community member there. Thank you, Steve. Thank you, Paolo. And we'll be back within a week. Thanks, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.